It wasn't love that had me hooked. It was the familiarity of pain. I kept repeating the same patterns, thinking they were the only way I could feel alive. When I thought I was falling deeper into love, I was really sinking further into a cycle of self-doubt and old wounds. How did I not see it? Love was supposed to lift me up, but all it did was drag me into the depths of my own insecurities, reminding me of all the things I had never healed. I believed love would heal me, but what I didn't know was that love can sometimes hide the most painful parts of our past, making us relive them again. The hardest thing to admit is that the love we thought we deserved was just a mirage, a reflection of our trauma and unhealed wounds. In my desperation for love, I let myself be tangled in the web of trauma bonding, thinking it was real. But I was just fooling myself. I thought I was in love, but all I was really in love with was the idea of love and the comfort of repeating the same painful patterns. I couldn't tell if I was loved or just wanted to be loved, and in the end, I realized that sometimes we confuse our own wounds for affection. I thought this was love, but it wasn't love. It was the desperate need for validation and healing from my past that I mistook for something more. It's easy to confuse trauma with love, especially when it feels like the only connection we know. But eventually, the truth comes crashing in. Love should have set me free, but instead, it kept me bound to a cycle of pain that I couldn't escape. Was this really love, or just my own fears? I held on to him because I thought he could fix me, but all I did was drag him into my brokenness. Trauma bonding disguised as love. I thought I could heal in his arms, but instead, I found myself stuck in a loop of pain and longing that only deepened with time. Sometimes we hold on to relationships that we think will save us, but in reality, they only keep us locked in the same patterns of pain and fear. I thought he was my savior, but what I didn't realize was that I was the one who needed saving from the trauma I had buried deep inside. I thought love would make everything better, but in reality, it only made me confront the darkness I was too afraid to face. Love should feel like freedom, but instead it felt like a cage, trapping me in the patterns of my own unresolved trauma. I thought he was the one who could love me through my darkness, but instead I realized that it was only my trauma pulling us together. At first, I thought it was love, but over time, I began to see that it was just a way to avoid facing the broken pieces of myself. The hardest part of healing is realizing that what we thought was love was just a coping mechanism for the pain we've never dealt with. In my search for love, I found myself clinging to a relationship that wasn't real, but the trauma made it feel like I was holding on to the one thing that could save me. Love should feel warm and safe, but instead, it felt like a battlefield. Was I fighting for love, or was I fighting to escape my own wounds? I thought this was love, but in reality, it was just my brokenness trying to find comfort in someone else's pain. When love feels like a constant tug of war, it's hard to tell if it's really love or just a trauma bond that keeps us connected to our past. I thought love would make me whole, but it only magnified the emptiness I had been running from. The truth hurt more than the love ever could. I kept telling myself it was love, but in my heart, I knew it was something darker, something that fed off my own pain, and I had to face it before I could heal. I thought I was finally healed, but every embrace felt like a reminder of the wounds I never fully confronted. Was this love, or was I just trying to escape myself? I held on to him because it felt like love, but it was just my trauma disguised as affection, a cycle I couldn't break until I saw the truth. What I thought was love was just a constant reminder of my fears, pulling me deeper into the abyss, where I lost myself over and over again. Love is supposed to heal us, but when it's built on brokenness, it only keeps us chained to the past, pretending everything is okay. I thought love was the key to my happiness, but it only opened doors to the parts of myself I'd tried to forget. We tell ourselves it's love, but it's often just the fear of being alone, masking our deepest insecurities and unhealed trauma. I was drowning in what I thought was love, but all it was doing was dragging me deeper into the darkness of my unresolved pain. When love feels like a trap instead of a release, it's hard to know if we're truly being loved or just being held captive by our past. I kept thinking love would save me, but it was the constant tug of my trauma that kept pulling me back, no matter how hard I tried to break free. I thought I had found the perfect love, only to realize it was just the echo of my past pain. How could something that felt so real be built on a lie? Every moment I spent thinking I was loved, I was actually clinging to my deepest fears. Love or trauma, I couldn't tell the difference anymore. I believed it was love, but the truth hit me like a storm. What I thought was affection was just the chains of my past pulling me back in. When the red flags looked like fireworks, I knew something wasn't right, but the craving for connection blinded me. How did I miss this? I thought love was supposed to heal, but instead, it dug up every buried wound I had. Was this really love, or was it just the ghosts of my past? You know the feeling when you're constantly running toward someone, but every step feels like you're running away from yourself. That's trauma bonding. It felt like love at first sight, but was it? Or was it just the familiar pain of an old wound reopening? I held on so tight to the idea of love that I didn't realize I was drowning in my own trauma. The truth was suffocating, and I didn't even see it coming. I thought love was supposed to free me. Instead, it trapped me in a cycle of hurt, longing for something that could never truly heal. I was convinced love would fix everything, but when I looked closely, I realized I was just repeating a painful pattern. Was I loving or just surviving? The words, "I love you," never felt so empty until I realized they were just a reflection of my own insecurities. Is this really love or something darker? My heart was open, ready to love, but what I didn't see was the trauma lurking in the shadows, waiting to pull me back into its grip. I kept telling myself this was love, but deep down, something felt wrong. It was only when I let go of the illusion that I saw the truth. I thought love would be the cure. But what if love is just the mask that trauma wears to keep us in chains? Each kiss felt like healing, but each touch was a reminder of the wounds I'd never truly healed. How could something so painful feel so good? The most painful truth is realizing that what you thought was love was just a cycle of repeating old patterns, longing for the comfort of familiarity. I thought love was a promise, but in the end, it was just a reminder of my past, a way for me to relive my old heartbreak over and over again. It wasn't love that I was feeling. It was the desperation for connection that led me to believe I was in something real. I had to face the truth. We often confuse trauma for love. The moment we realize the difference, we're left with nothing but the remnants of our broken hearts. I thought this was love, but every time I looked into his eyes, I saw my own reflection, haunted by past pain, trapped in a cycle of self-sabotage. Love is supposed to bring peace, but all I found was chaos, confusion, and endless heartbreak. The more I clung to him, the more I lost myself. They say love is supposed to heal, but all it did was unravel everything I thought I knew about myself. This wasn't love, it was a mask for my trauma. When I looked at him, all I could see was the ghost of my past staring back. Was I falling for him, or was I falling for the idea of him that I needed? It felt like love, but it was really just the echo of an old wound, begging for attention, needing to be healed, but never truly able to. I held on for dear life, believing that love would save me, but instead I was holding on to the only thing I knew, the cycle of pain and longing. The truth is, trauma bonding feels so much like love because it makes us feel wanted, needed, even if it's only a temporary fix for a much deeper wound. In his arms, I thought I found comfort, but in his touch, I found a painful reminder of the past I had never fully confronted. Every argument felt like a battle for my heart. I thought I was fighting for love, but I was actually fighting against the trauma that had always controlled me. At first, I thought I was falling in love, but with each passing day, I began to realize that what I felt was more about filling an empty space than true connection. I thought it was love. I thought I was being saved. But in the end, I discovered I was simply repeating the same painful patterns from my past. There's nothing more painful than realizing you've been bonding over trauma, not love. But the truth had to come out eventually. What I thought was a perfect relationship turned into the perfect storm of confusion. Was this love or just another cycle of hurt I couldn't escape? The hardest thing about falling for someone who triggers your trauma is realizing that it's not love, it's a fight to survive your own past. I wanted love so badly that I ignored the warning signs, convincing myself that this was it. But was it really love, or just another lesson in heartbreak?